On today's episode of Titus and Tate, for the third time in 10 years, Tate, the Indiana Hoosiers
Yes.
are back to being back for now. IU
so
beats
back.
Purdue. The first time since, I think it was 2016 was the last time Indiana had beaten Purdue, which is crazy. It's one of those things.
Think about how long ago 2016 was.
Oh
I mean,
God.
that was 3 years before Zion Williamson even introduced himself to the world.
Yeah.
That was before the FBI showed us the chart that they had. They know your game plan. I mean, this is
I'll be honest
a long
with you,
time ago.
I didn't really contextualize it like that, but that feels like forever ago.
It's forever ago.
Forever ago.
It really is. Eons.
Purdue had won 9 straight. Indiana
Oh, my God.
gets the program win. Mike Woodson's looks like he's having a heart attack after the game, clutching his chest, and then he's throwing his fist in the air. And man, what an environment at Assembly Hall. We're going to talk about it. And not only are we going to talk about it, just you and I, my father's coming on the program.
Yes.
Coach Titus.
He has to.
Yeah.
He predicted this.
Yeah.
He said this at the beginning of the season that Purdue would not hold up and that Mike Woodson would get the job done. And guess what? He was right.
And for the record, I want to defend my dad. He did not ask to come on the show. Like I had to go.
No, you had to ask.
Yeah. I was like, Dad, come on. He's like, really? And I was like, people want to hit, like, you beat Purdue. He's like, all right, I guess if you want me to. So it wasn't like my dad was like, book me on the show so I can.
No.
But we're going to talk to him about it. Speaking of being back, Memphis.
Whew.
Definitely not back, Tate. The quote, we'll
this media.
Yeah.
Not us. But this media that Penny is dealing with is Chris Vernon. So Chris Vernon is implicated.
That's a great point. Yes, it's the local guys.
Yes.
It's the guys that
Gary Parrish and Chris Vernon are now this media.
that put him on a pedestal.
Not
They're
that
now-
media. This media, just like this Jim Cunningham.
Stop disrespecting me, bro, is what Penny Hardaway said.
That was so good. And honestly, I think the kids can relate. Like a 17-year-old kid sees that press conference, like, I want to play for that guy. Stop disrespecting me, bro.
We'll talk about that a little bit. Also, I am taking the week off from frauds. There are no fraud power rankings this weekend. So everyone
I thought you were saying that you were going to take next week off.
Matt Painter, congratulations, you're off the hook. We are not calling out frauds this week. We are taking a week off. What we're doing instead, no Pac-12 update, by the way. I want to do an ACC update. I need you because
an Act 12.
Yeah. Yes,
the Act 12 update.
The Act 14, I guess, because they have. Now that Duke, because we talked about it last show, that Duke had lost to Florida State, North Carolina's dead. I need you to explain to me and the listeners, where does the ACC go from here?
Yes.
What is the current situation in the ACC?
Yes.
So Tate's gonna give us an ACC.
The roof was literally falling in at Louisville. That is like that's the teaser for the ACC
There you go.
update.
All that coming up, but first,
Woody Durham.
all right, Tate. We'll start with IU Purdue, obviously, right? That's where we got to start. The a rivalry that nationally, I would say, I'll let you say it. You're not I'm a kid who grew up in Indiana. This is as we know, we've had my dad on the show and talked about it. My mom went to Purdue. My dad went to IU. My brother,
you're part of the rivalry.
My brother went to
Your
IU.
house
My sister
divided.
went to IU for a little bit, and then she went to IUPY because she actually felt bad about splitting
the house.
Splitting the house.
Yeah, your mom was alone.
She was like, I don't want to go to Purdue, but I'll meet you in the middle. I'll go to IUPUI. So this is very close to me and my family. Every year that Purdue and IU play, I obsess over it. I watch every second. I am very much into it. But it would be fair to say, Tate, as a guy who did not grow up in Indiana, that this rivalry for the last however many years, has it popped? Has it worked?
It hasn't popped.
Yeah.
And I think last night it finally popped because there was new blood, and you saw the line outside Assembly Hall. This is every single beat writer from Bloomington was like, this is the most freshmen I have seen in at least a decade. You know what I mean? It was like the ultimate lead up to this game. And all I was saying to myself was, first off, I put it on my schedule. I'm like 4:00 Pacific time.
Yep.
Going to sit down and watch that game. That wasn't going to happen last year. You know what I mean?
That definitely was not. Yeah, it's been a long time. Even as a guy that gets
no
into
offense
it,
to Archie, but I mean, there was not the same faith.
Even as a guy that gets into it, I have not been telling people to watch. And Jim, you watched the game, correct?
I did.
Because I reached out to Jim. Like, I felt it in my bones that I was like, I think the rivalry might be back. That like I told Jim, I was on the phone with Jim yesterday. And I was like, hey, just FYI, this might be a good game. Like, I think you should watch it. In fact, I'm gonna pat myself on the back because little pulling back the curtain, Tate. I think I've said this before on the show, but there's a draft that Fox and ESPN and CBS do. We all have rights.
Yeah.
They all have rights to Big Ten basketball. And they go through, there's literally, I didn't realize this till I worked at Fox. There's literally a broadcast rights draft where they all get on a phone call together. And ESPN's like, we want Michigan State, in March or whatever. And then Fox is like, okay, we'll take this. And they draft. And the guys at Fox wanted to talk to me before the Big Ten draft because they wanted like the value pick. They were like, we know the
what
big
Big Ten games do we need to get? Yeah.
What is the value pick? And the only note I had written down was like, I think the Purdue at Indiana, not necessarily Indiana at Purdue, but the Purdue at Indiana game when Mike Woodson, his first game in Assembly Hall against Purdue, I think it's going to be bonkers. I think Purdue is going to be awesome going into that game. And I think Indiana is going to be good enough to beat him. That's what I wrote down. That's what I told them. They were like, really? They got the game. The game was on FS1 last night because of me, basically. I'm not even kidding. In fact, I talked to the people.
Company man.
I talked to the people at Fox, and they were like, "No, literally, the only reason we have this game is because you told us to get it." And they put it on Fox.
Company man.
It was a great game. So
put it up.
There you go. But I just felt like for the reasons you said, it was new blood. Mike Woodson.
It had to be.
It had to be.
It had to be.
It was the Michigan-Ohio State football rivalry, except now in basketball, where it was like it had to happen. It like if Indiana lost that game last night, and they almost did.
No, exactly. But the Indiana basketball, we were just there for the Final Four, so you see the Indiana basketball landscape, but it had to be recentered in some way. It had to be recentered to Bloomington because that is where everyone, even if you went to another school in Indiana, even if you asked about IU, you still usually say nice things because there's like a reverence and respect for it. But they had to be that, you know?
Yes.
And Mike Woodson couldn't have Purdue just coming in every year with Matt Painter stomping him like that's been happening for the past 6-7 years.
Right.
So this had to happen. And that was my only concern as I saw all the students outside. I was a little tight butthole because I'm thinking to myself, they have to win this game.
They had to.
If they don't, then the Mike Woodson era, you know, it all starts to crumble.
I'm thinking back.
And they did it.
This was probably the biggest in Indiana regular season game in Assembly Hall. The biggest regular season, so I guess all of them are in Assembly Hall, are all regular season, but this is probably the biggest game in Assembly Hall since, like, I'd say Michigan in 2013 when Michigan was number 1 and IU was 3rd. And that was the Victor Oladipo almost caught that lob. You know that game?
Cody.
They and IU won that one too, and that was another we're back moment.
How many times since 1987 has IU been back? That's the real
there was
question.
the Watford shot. They were back, I think.
Well, they were back in 1993 before the
They were back.
injury.
Yep.
They were back in 2002.
2002 definitely back.
They were back in 2012.
Yeah.
Then they were definitely back in 2013.
Definitively back in 2013. They won the Big Ten in 2016, which everybody forgets. Like, I sometimes forget.
I forgot. I just said that.
They won the Big Ten in 2016.
So they were back in 2016.
And then beat Kentucky in the 2016 tournament.
Yep.
Ulyss and Jamal Murray. Yogi Ferrell was like the best player on that team. They were back then.
What a great tournament that was, 2016.
That was a
fun tournament.
I
mean, until the end.
Yeah. They've been back a lot, but this was as we said, that this was a much bigger game for Indiana than it was for Purdue. Purdue had won 9 straight. Indiana, this was the definition of a program win, where it was like a declaration that the old days are over, the new days are here. And to that point, by the way, I want to say this. The Mike Woodson hire is already successful, and I don't mean that as like he's trending the right way. I mean that like
he already did it.
He did his job already.
This was one of the goals, one of the big check marks that they had on the board. It's like, we got to beat Purdue at home. This is ridiculous. And Mike Woodson, you check the box.
This was
undefeated in a soup, by the way.
When IU fans when they fire Archie Miller, and the national narrative is that IU fans are unrealistic and they expect to keep hanging banners and they'll never do that again, and and people,
so disrespectful.
People were just piling on, and I lost my mind for a brief month and a half there, where like every time I was doing a podcast, I was like just flipping off the world.
Quickly, if Brad Stevens was watching that game last night, I mean, you got to think to yourself, 10 years, $70 million, and all I had to do was beat this Purdue team.
They built a statue for you?
Yeah. My goodness.
No, when all that conversation was going on, what IU fans wanted to get through to everybody was like, the expectation at IU is not necessarily win a national championship. That would be nice. Final Fours would be nice. National championships would be nice. The expectation, because at that point in time, this offseason, where IU had found themselves, was Archie Miller literally never one single time beat Purdue. Not a single time, Tate, in his entire tenure at Indiana. Archie Miller never once made a single NCAA tournament in his entire tenure at Indiana. That's it. That's where you start. It's like all we want is a coach that can beat Purdue and make the NCAA tournament. And if we can do that, then we can start talking about what's next and getting back to the glory days and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in that regard, you didn't hire Mike Woodson. Nationally, everybody thinks that IU hired Mike Woodson to hang banner number 6. And maybe, you know, like every IU fan, don't get me wrong, would love banner number 6, Tate. But Mike Woodson was hired for that. Literally just
Yeah.
that. Like, get us back on track to where we beat Purdue, where we're going to make the NCAA tournament, which, like, barring catastrophe, I think Indiana's in now.
They're in now.
Yeah.
This was the win
Like,
that they needed.
yeah.
I mean,
So-
unless they completely collapse.
Yeah, it's still, I guess they could collapse. But so in that regard, like no matter what happens from here, even if it's like a Juwan Howard type situation where Juwan Howard comes out of the gate hot and now like this year Michigan's not as good, and not to say that Michigan regrets hiring Juwan Howard, but like that can happen sometimes with new coaches where the first couple years you get a little too excited and then water finds its level. Even if that happens with Mike Woodson, he's already better than the other guy was, and Tate Frazier voice, and I like Archie. I do. I when Indiana hired Archie, I thought he would be successful. I thought he was.
And the
I like
same
Archie a lot.
critics that were talking
Yeah.
about Mike Woodson were talking about Archie Miller as if they had just hired John Wooden. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Mhm.
That was so shocking to me in this whole thing. I mean, Archie Miller got this red carpet treatment. It did not work out at all. Then Mike Woodson gets like,
And you laugh.
yeah, people laugh at Mike Woodson. It made no sense.
Yeah. Let's talk about the game itself. So Rob Phinisee is the story of the game. Rob Phinisee, a guy who I think they did a good job on the broadcast of beating that home. Grew up in Lafayette, Indiana, which is a rarity. There aren't a lot of guys from Lafayette that play for the Hoosiers, Tate.
Because again,
for good reason.
Purdue is in West Lafayette.
Right. So he's from Purdue country, goes to IU, and for those who don't completely know the story, because like there was that part, and I think that the broadcast did a good job of explaining that this guy comes off the bench. He was a 3-year starter, just explodes in the first half. What do you have, 17 at halftime?
Yeah.
I jokingly tweeted at a
And then the only other points he had were the game-winning points.
That's right, yeah. At Assembly calls this Indiana basketball podcast that I go on sometimes, and I love those guys. And at halftime I tweeted, "Do you think Rob Phinisee is going to opt out and prepare for the draft?" Because that's how good he was playing. He just an unbelievable first half. But the other like wrinkle of Rob Phinisee is that he's basically like an abused puppy under Archie Miller, which like is not to say that Archie was like it wasn't like a Bob Knight, Neil Reed.
No. But he just like he had a short leash.
His confidence was non-existent. Like his entire he wasn't like a program changing recruit for IU. It wasn't like people were losing their minds when he committed to IU, but he was good. He was like the good get, a kid from Lafayette. He was, I forget how many stars, 4 stars. I don't know if
4
it was 5
stars
or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like a good get for IU, and he never has like kind of reached the level you want. And a lot of people, might say that it's on him and he hasn't developed whatever. Other people are like, look the way Archie uses him, that every time he catches the ball, Archie's telling him, don't look at the rim, look at Trace, get the ball to Trace, never look to score, always look, and he just kind of like went through this psychological thing where like very obviously had destroyed him.
Yeah.
In fact, this was a quote that Mike Woodson had this week talking about Rob Phinisee before the Purdue game. He's had a tough go at it in the past. I'm just trying to get him to forget what happened in the past. You're playing for Coach Woodson now, and Coach Woodson loves you, and I'm in your corner. That's what he said about Rob Phinisee before the Purdue game, before he did that. So like that was the story for me. It was like I the first half is Phinisee's going nuts. I'm like jumping around in my living room, and it wasn't even that. I mean, I was obviously cheering for IU, but like I didn't care. It was more I was cheering for Rob Phinisee. I was like, this is insane. This is like a storybook.
It's like a Disney movie.
Yes, it's a Disney movie. What's transpiring right here?
Rudy.
And that bears itself out. Not only like Phinisee comes off the bench and plays really well, and then he comes off the bench in the second half, which is pretty funny too, because I think IU fans are scratching their head like, why is Miller Cobb out there to what is going on? What is happening? Why is Phinisee out there?
And Trace Jackson Davis was, I mean, this was not his game. Like if you looked at this game on paper when we talked in November, you would think Travion Williams versus Trace Jackson Davis. Yes. What a showdown. This game was not that at all.
It was Zach Edey versus Michael Durr. It was Jaden Ivey versus Ruffett,
Yeah.
But Phinisee, the other thing I was going to say to talk about the game-winning shot, Tate, is that he didn't just drop the game-winning shot for Phinisee once. He did it twice.
After
Phinisee misses the first one, and then Mike Woodson, like that's unbelievable, honestly. Like that's coaching. If Archie Miller was coach, and again, I love Archie, and I genuinely did love Archie. And I love playing for him, and I hope he lands on his.
No, but it shows that I'm actually in your corner. It's like you bricked that first 3.
If Archie Miller is coaching Indiana when Rob Phinisee bricks that first 3 towards the end of the game, the first game-winning shot, quote unquote, his ass, he might get, not only is he not shooting again, he might just take him out and put him on the bench. And Mike Woodson was like, no, we're going back to you. You're going to hit the shot. And it wasn't even like that was a tough shot. Stefanovic had a hand in his face and he was sort of faded away.
But I don't know Stefanovich's, train of thought or whatever, but it did feel, if you watch it live, it felt like his hand was there, but he almost like didn't go.
He's like, he's not going to shoot.
Because he's like, he's no way this guy's shooting this after he just missed the
Yes.
last one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why it was so beautiful, because he shouldn't be shooting that. Every other year, there's no way he's shooting that.
Yes.
But then he does, and then he makes it. And it's like,
yeah. So
euphoria.
that's kind of the backstory to those who, I don't know, for people that were maybe watching that didn't really understand, like that the Rob.
There was a bigger story.
Yes.
There's a game within the game.
And that to me, to get emotional and sentimental about college basketball, that is why I love this sport so much.
Of course.
That stage, this is a sport that, quote unquote, only matters for 2 weeks in March. That could not be further from the truth, because no matter what happens, if Rob Phinisee doesn't score another point the rest of his Indiana career, he will have that moment. He will be a legend in Bloomington. He will feel like all of that.
Maybe not Lafayette, but
not somebody. You can't go home. Bad news. Can't go back home. But those stages, like that can only happen in college sport. That can only happen in college sports.
And the beauty of
like
college sports is like to see someone grow into that player. I mean, we see them when they first get there.
Yes.
And they're kind of like this gangly kid. You're like, I see something they could be.
Which answers the question, like, how can you like watching college basketball when guys are bricking threes and dribbling off their foot? And I'll tell you why, because when you watch 3 years of Rob Phinisee not developing like you want him to, and then last night happens and
it finally clicks.
As an IU fan, you've invested so much in this kid, like watching him and cheering for him and hoping it works.
Yeah.
And it finally clicks and he hits a game-winning shot to beat Purdue for the first time in 6 years. And he's from Lafayette. It's like, what?
It's like,
that's why.
That's why we're here, folks.
That's why we're here. What else? TJD didn't play. Do we talk about that a little bit? Because I found it interesting that like IU seemed to be better-ish without him. Not really, but kind of like
No,
it was an interesting development, because it was the second game in a row that Purdue had played. The reason it stood out to me was that when Purdue played Illinois, the same sort of thing happened with Illinois, where Kofi got in foul trouble and he goes to the bench, and I forget how much Illinois was down at the time, but the vibe was like, oh shit, like Illinois is losing already. Now Kofi's in foul trouble. They're really in trouble now. And then like the guards, like I said earlier, we're finishing, we catch the ball and look for trades. Like the guards were like, all right, I guess we got to make plays now. And Plummer starts hitting shots and Trent Frazier. I felt like the same thing happened with Indiana, where when Trace Jackson Davis is in the game, it becomes so much about Trace Jackson Davis versus whatever Purdue big guys out there, that when he was out of the game, they were like,
no, they were a better
right,
team.
Let it rip.
Yeah.
Xavier Johnson had a great game, like, and they I don't know. I found that fascinating.
Which is also coaching too, because in the moment, Mike Woodson, you make decisions like maybe going into the game, you're saying to yourself, Trace needs to have a huge game, but then as the game is unfolding, you're like, no, he doesn't. It is what it is. And that is a part of not to go back to Archie, but you know what I mean. I'm not sure.
And I liked the guy. Oh man!
But I just want to give Mike Woodson his credit. I mean, this was a great moment.
Are you worried about Purdue at all?
I mean, I'm the same amount of worried as I was.
Same,
before,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think I learned anything about Purdue that I didn't already know.
No,
Yeah.
it does not bode well. I mean, I guess it does in some sense because they have played in so many close games, but it doesn't inspire confidence that this team does not seem to have the ability to quote unquote like blow out somebody unless it was in November or December. Like I'm waiting for them to click back into that mode a little bit.
That's a problem.
And I want to see if they can,
Yeah, and I think a game like Phinisee and Xavier Johnson for IU carried the Hoosiers.
Yes.
And
18 points, 20 points.
It kind of highlighted the importance of guards in modern college basketball. Not that guards have not always been important, but a team like Purdue that is so big guy oriented and it's so we know their makeup. A game like last night kind of highlights that to me, that like that's the fear I have. That's the fear I'll always have moving forward. As I said, we talked about Purdue on the show earlier this week, and I said like that there are three problems, and I think some of them are fixable, some of them aren't. I came away from this game the exact same as I did before. It's like you cannot trust any of your guards really. I mean, Stefanovic is good, but he's limited. He's a great shooter. Can do things other than shooting. Like he can score off the bounce a little bit, but he's not creating anything for anybody else. Hunter's not creating anything for anybody else. Thompson's not creating anything for anybody else. The only guy that you can put the ball in his hands to create stuff for other people is Jaden Ivey.
And that's with
and he's trying to create stuff for himself.
I know, and I was like, and that's with the hope that he is, maybe looking to be pass first at some point.
And that's what it is, and that's who Purdue is, and that's who they're going to be all year. And the only way they can like really overcome and come to a next level is like if they really, really, really lock in defensively. And and I think they can in flashes, but they just as a team have not all season. And I don't know. I think like I'm as you said, I'm the same amount of worried as I was going into this game. It didn't really change much for me.
I just want Purdue. I want Purdue to get that elusive Final Four. I don't. Well, Coach Titus, I hope he's not on the line. I hope he's not listening to this. But I do want them to get over the hump. But I am so happy for Indiana. Last night it had to be Indiana. That was the other part of this. That I kind of gave Purdue a pass because this was bigger than
it was big.
Team,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It felt the exact same way as I said it before, the Ohio State Michigan football.
Yeah.
The exact same way. Like I watched.
Things had to go the right way for Indiana or for Michigan to win that game. Like it's snowing outside.
Yes.
All of those things. It all kind of came together.
Yes, and as an Ohio State alum, I remember watching that game and thinking like this sucks, but also like it just had to like there's nothing we could have. There's nothing you replay that game 10 times. Michigan's probably winning 7 or 8 just because like. At a certain point,
the things that were coming together.
At a certain point, the stars start to line, and you just shrug your shoulders, and you're like, "That happens sometimes."
Yeah, and even though Ohio State guys in the game, they were just like looking around, they're like, "Yeah, it's just not our day.
It's just not. That's just not going to happen." That's how. But Purdue at least was there.
They were fighting.
Like, they had a chance in the end, and Mike Woodson didn't foul. Is that are we worried about that?
I kind of liked it until I saw Ivy take the shot.
No. That gave me vibes of the shot that reminded me of Jim. Good poll, by the way, of the RJ Barrett. I saw you tweeted that the RJ Barrett clip of who was that against? Did he hit the game?
The Celtics.
Oh man,
the Celtics.
Celtics. Yeah,
the Celtics. It reminded me of
the team that they beat in the first game of the year, and they celebrated like they won the NBA Finals.
That's right. The memory.
Is your retweet button broken or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was. Sorry, I was on the phone with my father.
Well, RJ banked it
in prayer.
We were praying. We were crying together and jumping up in celebration.
9/11.
Yeah. The shot it reminded me of is Jordan MJ against the Pacers in a playoff game. I have a vague memory of it. There was it might have been the game Reggie hit the shot when Reggie pushed off. Hit the 3,
and then Jordan came,
and then Jordan caught it and did a double pump from like half court,
and it almost
banked it and almost went in. That's what the Ivy shot reminded me of.
It should have gone in, or the Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, the Gordon. Yeah, there you go. All right, should we have my dad on?
Yeah,
we should not talk about IU Purdue anymore.
I know. I feel like we're doing him a disservice. We got to get him on.
All right, let's bring Coach Titus on. All right, joining us now. I'm sorry, is my father, who is he's got, for those listening to the show, he's got a brand new Indiana quarter zip. Is that have you never worn that? Did you buy that waiting for the occasion?
No, sir. That's a gift from your brother who loves me.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. All right.
Way to go, Ryan.
Well, there you go. He's wearing his fresh IU quarter zip, drinking out of his IU cup. Dad, let's start with the obvious question. How back is Indiana? And is this the most back that IU has been since 1987, would you say?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you part of the reason why, and it's Coach Woodson. I understand, I didn't see anything about or any pictures, but I think they started Woodsonville outside Assembly Hall. I heard there were kids camping out, and I did see a line 3 hours before the game that was very, very long. I don't think that's happened for a while. So, yeah, I'd say we're back.
There you go.
Oh, I love that.
Definitive declaration that IU is back. That is no, we were talking about that earlier, that the students showing up, and this felt like a game that frankly mattered so much more to IU than it did Purdue, where it just felt like Indiana had to win. It just like there was no this was like the biggest.
They were destined to win.
I said this was the biggest in like 90. Do you remember a time that like you felt going into an IU game? Like what was the last time you felt like this is so important that it might be a regular season game, but like this is, this feels bigger than that. Like I don't, my answer was 2013 versus Michigan, when Michigan was number 1 and IU was number 3. And then IU went on to win the Big Ten, but I don't know. What do you think?
When we beat Kentucky at Assembly Hall.
In 2012?
The last time those cowards came up there.
Well, hold on. Great discussion point.
Kentucky fans they're trying to say that they don't care about Indiana successes, that they're not worried about it. They're not rivals, which sounds to me like you might be a rival.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Why don't they come up and play then if we're not a rival or they don't care? There's a lot of other schools that they play and want to beat up on. Come to Bloomington again.
See, this is the bravado that everyone in Bloomington needed, and they needed one, lynch point moment where they could say, like, this is it. This is where we become the Indiana that we're supposed to be. And there was Bedlam in Bloomington. That was the headline.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's Dad. What I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to talk to you about. This we were talking about this earlier because there was an idea when Archie was fired, and then IU fans were flirting, were trying to convince themselves that Brad Stevens was maybe coming and all that kind of stuff. And there was a national narrative that IU fans are unrealistic and that IU fans expect to win a national title every year and all that sort of thing. I would say your generation of Indiana grads, Indiana fans represents probably what people think. Like when people picture an Indiana fan who's unrealistic, they probably picture your face. They probably picture a guy wearing a quarter zip with a gray beard who remembers the Bob Knight heyday, So as a representative of the unrealistic Indiana fan, what actually is the expectation as an Indiana fan going into each season? Because I was telling Tate, I was like, in my mind, I feel like the expectation for Archie wasn't to win national titles, it was to beat Purdue and make the NCAA tournament. It was simply that. How do you see it then?
Well, I think the last few years, the expectations have always been just hope they play well, hope they can beat somebody, hope they can do something. Now I think the hope has become expectations with Coach Woodson there. He's someone, Mark and Tate, that understands it all, understands what IU basketball means to the university, what IU basketball means to the state of Indiana. He lived it. He's got pride. He's always had the IU pride. It's never left him. And I think he's brought all that in. Well, I don't want to say a lot of energy. He's a pretty level-headed and calm and cool guy, but he certainly brought his expertise and love for IU basketball. And people see that and they feel that coming from a head coach. And obviously we haven't, with outsiders the past few years, we haven't had that there. But I think the expectations for him and the program have certainly risen in the last 24 hours.
And you can see the joy, right, Coach Titus? Like when you saw after the game when they cut to Woody, I mean, he is literally, it's jubilation. I mean, he's almost like in tears. And Titus, you just got him as having a heart attack.
Well, contrast Woody's reaction beating Purdue last night with Tom Crean on the Watford shot when Tom Crean looked like he crapped his pants. it was like where am I?
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, Woody's like,
Woody obviously is happy for the program and everything. I think he's really happy for Phinisee. If you guys have seen some of the quotes about the talk they had before the game yesterday, I think he's really happy for that kid who had an unbelievable game, obviously. And I'll tell you what, Purdue's a really, really good basketball team. Yes, Tate, I said that.
I love it, Coach.
I think they've got a lot of tools. As a matter of fact, they've got more tools than an IndyCar team. They've got all the tools they need to be a great team. Maybe lacking a point guard. I think that's a true point guard. I think they could use Billy Keller back, but that's a throwback that most people won't understand. But but otherwise, I think they're a great team. They've got great players who do some things. I think the crowd bothered them last night. I think IU was well prepared for them. I think, I'll just throw out. So here's what I think about the game. You haven't asked yet, but first of all, Durr besides Phinisee played a great game. The other thing, and you guys will know better than IU had 2 turnovers and Jackson Davis had both of them. And I see some stats or some box scores that said they had 3. So there must have been a team turnover, whatever that is. But the crowd was unbelievable. Jackson Davis made 2 free throws down the stretch in a row, which was amazing. IU's free throw defense was unbelievable, held Purdue to 41%, which is awesome. But I think the 2 turnovers is what people are missing out on. If you play anybody and only have 2 turnovers, you got a great chance of winning. And then the other stat that really stood out to me was IU had 9 steals. and Purdue had 0 steals. And I know that Painter teaches defense up there and promotes it, but IU really got after it last night, which was great to see.
I gotta say, I gotta point out the obvious here. Is he not like more reserved than we thought? Like it looks like he's on staff now.
Well,
like he shows up wearing the quarter zip.
Well,
He's like giving Purdue credit. He's like, they're a good team.
We talked about this. Indiana basketball is recentered. They're back at the top, so he can give credit where credit is due now. You know what I mean? It's recentered. You know what I mean?
Last time he came on the show, Purdue was ranked number 1.
Yes.
He was obviously in his feelings about it and was kind of like bubbling over. Now he's got a calm zen, like
because
life
back on top.
Yes, he's back to restart.
Hey, only great teams with great performances can beat the number 4 ranked team in the country. So
that's what it is. That's a smart move too. Is like he's hyping up Purdue to make the make the win feel more valuable. Dad, the other thing I wanted to say is I remember when Woody was hired, when the Woodson announcement came through, it was during the NCAA tournament, right? Because we were here at the Fox lot watching NCAA tournament games, and we had to go live like 20 or 30 minutes after that. And I remember the hire gets announced, and I called you immediately because I was like, I got to be honest, I don't know a ton about Mike Woodson. I know he coached in the NBA. I know he played at IU. And I knew you were around at IU when he was there. So I was like, I'm just going to call my dad and just kind of honestly just regurgitate whatever he tells me. Whatever dad tells me, I'm going to go on this live show and just be like, here's what I think about the Woodson hires.
Yeah.
Just whatever my dad tells me. And to your credit, Dad, the moment I called you, I'll never forget it. I was like, what do you think? And you go, Mark, I swear to God, this is better than Brad. And I was like, are you out of your mind? But I was like, Dad, you can like the hire, but like, this isn't better than hiring Brad Stevens. You're like, no, he gets it. He'll like, there's something about him. You said all of these things. So I guess, and then we saw the fallout after Woodson is hired, the national reaction, the guys that
jokes, lots of jokes.
Dad was sending me all the tweets that he'd saved, all the screenshot tweets.
I'm glad you got the receipts, Coach Titus.
Yeah, Dad was like, look at all these jokers saying Woodson was a terrible hire, all that. So Dad, with all that in mind, do you have a message for the haters? now that Woody beat Purdue?
Nah, Woody's the answer. I thought that, like you said, Mark, from the beginning. He understands the Big Ten. He was a great high school player in Indiana. He understands Indiana. Great player in the Big Ten. Coached at the professional level. He's seen guys come up from colleges who were ill prepared for the league. So Woody, I just felt like, and then adding Coach Mata, I think has been a big part of their success as well, because he's been coaching at it for a while. So, I have to give the staff, and when you and I went down there, Mark, and we met the staff, he's just got a tremendous staff put together. And Woody will be the first one to give those people credit, So it's not just him, but he certainly is the foundation of all of it with his understanding of the Big Ten.
How about I saw this last night during the game. I don't know if you have a message for this hater. Someone said when IU gave up the lead, they put choke with 3 exclamation points, and then we lose with 3 exclamation points, and then said we're playing not to lose and waiting too long into the shot clock. BS with this moral victory crap. Pass the dang ball. Do you have a message for this guy who?
That guy's a complete. I'll tell you right now, he's a complete jackass. Whoever said that.
Oh, it says here that these are the texts that these are the texts that you were sending me.
Straight from my account.
That's what my dad would be.
Watching them play all season and the way they finished games, I just thought once Purdue had gotten a lead that there was little to no hope, especially the 3 or 4 minutes prior to that, the way we played. But once Purdue took the lead, I thought from there on that it was over with all the tools they have. I just couldn't imagine that the ending the way it came out, but unbelievable. Again, I think the crowd helped, and Phinisee, my word. Yeah. I honestly, I texted you this, or somebody, Mark. I swear Phinisee saved up all his mojo all season long for last night.
For that one game.
He just did.
Yeah.
For that one game, his hometown team, he put it on him. Unbelievable.
How's mom holding up? Because Tate, I don't know if you knew this, the Purdue and IU women played earlier this week, and Purdue was winning, right? IU's ranked like 6th. The women's team's ranked 6th.
Yeah.
It was in Mackey Arena. IU came back, forced overtime, and won. and mom was devastated about that. And then now last night happens. How's mom holding up?
Well, she's hanging in there. She gets all over me because she thinks I ought to be cheering for the Purdue women. I said I didn't go to Purdue. I'm not cheering for anybody up there. She called them up okay. She wasn't too disappointed last night. She's happy for honestly because of our connection, Mark, with the IU program. She's happy for us and never been a real big
what a
big
great
time
mom.
Purdue.
Yeah, that's why I said
men's basketball team.
That's what makes their relationship so funny to me is that my mom my mom will wear Purdue stuff and be like, the boys had fun, they played hard, whatever. And my dad's like pulled his hair. It's so funny.
Well, it's a lot easier on her if she acts like she doesn't care to me, because if she acts like she cares, I won't shut up about it.
Yeah, that's true. You guys would not be still married if she cared. If she cared as much as you cared, I don't think you'd still be.
That's smart.
The last thing I want to say.
It'd be a struggle.
The last thing I want to say, I want to tell our audience about this because I don't even think Tate and Jim know this. For Christmas this year, one of the gifts we got my dad was we put money on a Purdue national championship future. So my dad stands to win $1,000 if Purdue wins the national championship. We gave him that for a Christmas present. He took it as a trolling by the family. I took it as as an emotional hedge that
it's an emotional hedge.
If the unthinkable happens and Purdue wins a national title, at least you're not a big loser because you're gonna profit off.
But if you gave me a Duke national championship futures ticket, I would have ripped it up.
I was gonna say.
Thank you, Tate.
So, are you worried?
If Purdue wins and I'm supposed to get that $1,000, that's Satan's money. I don't want it.
Exactly.
It's going straight. It's going straight to a charity called A Kid Again.
There you go.
Mark my words.
Yeah, it's a charity donation.
Well, how has that been? No,
Absolutely.
How has that been since Christmas? No, has it changed how you watch Purdue at all? Has that changed psychologically?
No, not till the tournaments.
Oh, okay. Right.
No, not till the tournament starts.
All right. Oh man,
Coach. One last thing: were you worried about this court storming last night, or do you think that's
great
just
question.
generational? Because
Great
I've seen a lot of people say that young kids just want to storm.
If Purdue's record was reversed, there'd be no storming. I'm not a fan of it. You act like you've been there. You know what, guys? If you go back and watch Phinesee's shot, the game winner, it ended up being the game winner. He had no reaction. He got back on defense. That's the kind of thing I like.
There you go.
Not a fan of court storming for sure. But after someone said that Purdue had beaten IU 9 times in a row. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Purdue had beaten IU, yeah. Well, you know what? Some of those teams, honest to God, I think my intramural team at IU could have beaten IU's basketball team out of those last 9. So that's no big deal.
So those don't count.
But, with that, and with them being ranked 4th, I think the kids got all eaten up with it, and the dynamic of Coach Woodson being there and the enthusiasm he's created. I think it was probably the right thing to do. I mean, how else? But it is generational, Tate, I think, because
it's generational.
Knight would have for it. Yeah, but that's how kids celebrate today. And 7:00 game. Who knows what kind of beverages they had all day waiting on a game.
Bob Knight famously would never put anything on the court in a Purdue game that doesn't belong on the court. He would not, for instance, take an object and throw it across the court.
There was one of the legs was uneven. The maintenance man was in the corner. People didn't see him come out of the tunnel.
He was trying to throw the chair to him.
He wanted to get him.
I
threw
agree.
the chair to him to get an adjustment so he could have a comfortable seat.
That's what I had heard, Coach.
Golly,
Dad, what if have you
come
considered the idea that maybe the IU students were running on the court to shake Matt Painter's hand to congratulate him on a well-coached game? And it was just sportsmanship. They were all just running.
I think that was kind of a moral victory for Purdue, though, to come that close to IU in Assembly Hall.
All right, but
what a fun night for the university and the kids, and for Coach Woodson and the staff, and couldn't be more excited moving forward. We'll see.
Well, there you go. Thanks, Dad. Congrats.
Thanks,
hang banner
Titus.
number 6. Beat Purdue finally. Put it up there next to the national title.
Yeah, we won't hang that banner.
IU is back.
National championships only.
All right.
Hey, how about Jim Cunningham's work? You guys need to give him a little shout out today.
Jim.
Thank you very
That
much.
side-by-side comparison into the game winner was unbelievable. And to
thank
do it
you.
that quickly, that's awesome.
Oh my
Thank you.
God.
There's my
Finally.
shout out.
Yeah, there. I love that.
Finally, that's
We're-
right, Jim.
We're gonna
Coach Titus would retweet it for you.
Thank you.
we're gonna cut
There
that.
you go.
That but that was a nice sentiment. We're gonna cut it.
Hey, is his retweet button broken also? What happened?
All right, Dad. Love you. Thanks for joining us. People get fired up. They love to hear anything happens with Indiana or Purdue.
You're the face of Indiana basketball in our show.
Yeah, you kind of are. So you got to keep your phone ready for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Thanks,
That
Coach
makes it
Titus.
an ugly program if I'm the face of it. We're in trouble. But,
All
all
right.
right, guys. Great job. Love y'all. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
Dad. All right. Thank you to my dad for joining us.
God, what a great time.
Always fun. It's
I don't even want to talk when your dad's on. I just want him to just
Yeah.
like whatever's on his like filibuster. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Let your dad come on here, Indiana filibuster, and let the people know what's really.
I hope people enjoy that. You know, I understand sometimes it can be a little, navel gazing to have your dad on and just talk about, I don't know how much audio
There was ever
or
a
whatever,
time.
but
There's ever
last
a
night
time.
I gotta say, the Purdue lost to Rutgers when Ron Harper hit the half court shot, and then last night both. It does there were a lot of people on Twitter at least that were just like asking me about my dad and curious about my dad and all that. So I don't know. I hope people enjoy it as much as they say they enjoy it because I certainly do. He's hilarious. He's exactly he's. I knew exactly when you asked him about court storming, I knew exactly what he was going to say. But it's like he gets like right up to the line with his boomer takes that you're just like you roll your eyes, but he doesn't like step over it to where you're like this is a problem or like
No,
you know
he's
what I
just
mean?
being honest.
Just
you know
being
what I mean?
honest.
And he is right. I mean, when all the field storming was happening in college football, like North Carolina would lose to Virginia Tech, and then Virginia Tech would storm the field. Like
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. You know what I mean? This is making us look good. Like we're this level of a program. But then you realize that all these kids that are in college, they don't even know anything that happened before 2010.
Yeah,
So they don't
Yeah.
care.
dude.
They're just like, I'm here at this game and I'm gonna rush this field.
I very much disagree
Or
with my
rush the
dad
score.
on that point because you act like you've been there before. Those kids have not been there before.
They have never
They've-
been there.
In fact, like not only not been there and seeing IU beat Purdue, they probably have not even been in Assembly Hall. There weren't even fans last year at the
Yeah.
game. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
who cares?
Well, it's also one of those things where, like, when we were, I mean, in our situation, it was like you grew up like born and bred like Indiana or Carolina fan. So like you grew up and you knew all the history. Then you would go there. So then you were
Yeah.
like, we don't do that because we
Yeah.
haven't ever done that. But now, it's
dude.
not-
All those IU students are from New York and Chicago.
yeah, exactly. All the Carolina students
just-
are from California. and, yeah,
They just have rich parents that send them to IU, and then yeah, they're like, "What? Is Purdue a rival? I didn't know that. I just
I thought Kentucky was a rival. Kentucky fans like, are you
Oh,
kidding
shit.
me?
we would never storm the court at Rupp. Yeah, you don't storm the court at Rupp because your students are like a mile away from the
Yeah.
court. That's
Yeah.
why you don't storm at Rupp because the only way the students could storm the court at Rupp is they'd have to push all the blue hairs out of the way,
They'd have to
like,
yeah, it'd be a
climb
stampede.
over and get out of here. You know,
Not gonna
storm
happen.
at Rupp. Yeah, because you're all like half asleep by the time the game's over. All right.
I like when you say it about Kentucky fans and not Carolina fans.
I mean,
Oh,
it was
man.
more relevant because Kentucky was.
Ashley Judd one time in a Carolina game gave me the loser sign. Like she came to the Dean Dome and like as a kid she like gave me like
I
I'm a
picture-
loser. Like I'm a
I
loser.
picture, the gif of the old dude that looks like a pornographer. That's the Lakers fan that has
yeah,
the chain.
Lakers.
Lakers, like Ashley Judd, just loser. All right, let's keep this thing moving. We it's time for Big Ten Stat of the Week, brought to you
Woo!
by Discover. When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover, exceptionally common sense. Big Ten Stat of the Week, Tate. I think we set the stage last week for what it is. I think most people at this point know. And if you don't know, just keep listening. You'll
You'll
eventually
figure it out. Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Do you have a
Yeah,
Big Ten Stat?
I'll go
you'd like
first.
to-
Mine is quickly. My Big Ten Stat of the Week. First and foremost, honorable mention to Mike Woodson, who is still undefeated in a suit.
That's
which
right.
which I
it is.
think it should be considered for
And-
Big Ten Stat of the Week.
IU, it used to be a home away thing,
Mm-hmm.
but Woody wore a blazer over top of they for MLK Day they played Nebraska and
Yes.
they were both Adidas schools. so
Blazer
they
over a
both-
shirt.
They all wore a shirt, and then he wore the blazer over the shirt, and they won at Nebraska. So it's no longer just a home and away thing. It is like something about the blazer or the suit. Yeah, there's something there going on. So
It's
that's-
business. It's
yeah.
business, and he gets business done. But that is not my Big Ten Stat of the Week. My Big Ten Stat of the Week is a good one, and it is one that I was shocked to read. Again, this is players that have had back-to-back 30-point triple doubles in the NBA, WNBA, Division I men's and women's college basketball since 2000. That is the stat that we have, the Big Ten stat of the week.
Okay.
And the players that have done this: Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Caitlin Clark of Iowa women's basketball team. So shout out to Caitlin Clark, your Big Ten stat of the week. She is in the group with Kobe Bryant. Yeah, she's in the conversation with Kobe, LeBron, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Caitlin Clark.
Add her to the list.
Add her to the list. Yeah. So one of the GOATs
It's an amazing
in
stat.
basketball. So Big Ten stat of the week.
That's a great Big Ten stat.
Shout out to Caitlin.
Mine comes to you. This is about Johnny Davis. And the mark of a great Big Ten stat to me is that by the time you get done saying it, you're like the person listening is like
Confused.
say that again. I didn't catch all that. Like, what was it again? Say that again. That is how you know you have a great Big Ten stat. And I think this one qualifies. Are you ready? In 15 career, this was a tweet from I want to acknowledge Stats by Stats. I guess
Mine was a stats by stats as well.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, shout out to stats.
Dude, we
by
have to
stats.
follow these people. They got some good Big Ten stats. In 15 career starts, Johnny Davis of Wisconsin at Badger men's basketball has, and then here are the bullet points: scored 300 plus points, grabbed 100 plus rebounds,
Yes.
dished out 30 plus assists, made 20 plus threes, and blocked 10 plus shots. The last Division I player to reach all of those marks over his first 15 career starts was Carmelo Anthony in 2002-2003. So there you go. What did I just say? I don't even know. I read it. I prepared this.
Who
I
looked
still
that
don't
up?
really know.
Like, who found that?
what that is.
How could they have? I mean,
We have not. But the point is, we have not seen what Johnny Davis is doing since Carmelo Anthony.
no, I was
Now,
going to say,
what is he doing? I don't know what he's doing, but we haven't seen it since Carmelo Anthony.
the Big Ten stat of the week feels like they give you two things. They're like Carmelo Anthony, Johnny Davis, and then it's your job to find the numbers that connect those two things. You know
what I think happens is Johnny Davis has a game where he scores like 27 and 12 and grabs 12 rebounds or something. And you go to the database and you type it in, you're like, oh my God, that's probably never been done. And you type in 27 and 12.
Carmelo
and then,
did it.
And then there's like 400 names. And then you're like, yeah, but he also hit 4 free throws. So you type in 4 free throws and it whittles it down to like 215 names. And then you're like, what else did he do? Let's see here. I think that's how it works. I don't know. Anyway, I love this segment. What a fun segment.
Thank you, Discover.
Fun times.
I mean, Big Ten stat of the day is one thing, but Big Ten stat of the week, it's just different. It just means more.
It
just means more.
All right, give us an ACC update,
Woo!
please, for the love of God. I have no idea what's going on other than who's in first place. Is it Miami still?
Miami is in first place in the ACC, and Miami just made history. So this is the ACC update. The Canes swept the Research Triangle, the Research Rhombus, for the first time ever.
That is NC State, Carolina,
North Carolina,
and Duke.
Wake Forest not
Wow.
included.
Wow.
But first time ever. So, and in fact, I was like, this feels like the first time that Miami's ever done that. Googled it, pops up. Shout out to, I think the guy's name.
Stats by Stats. There it is.
Yes. Craig Smith is the guy who found this out. So shout out to Craig Smith. Florida runs the ACC. That's the update. It is Florida's world. We're just living in it. Florida men are everywhere. Miami's in first place. Florida State's in second place. They've won 5 in a row, by the way, in the ACC.
Who has Miami or Florida State? Florida State has. They play Saturday, right?
Miami lost to Florida State by 1 point. Florida State's won 5 in a row, though. But if you ask The Athletic, which is, of course, owned by the New York Times, a respected place, Duke is the best team in the ACC. They keep writing these articles. Despite Duke being in third, Duke is, no matter where they may be in the actual standings, they're number one in our hearts. So Miami might be number one, but just remember, according to The Athletic, Duke is number one.
Spin zone, I guess, for the ACC is the best team in the conference is third in the conference. That's how deep.
So many good
strong.
Teams. Yes.
Same with the Big Ten. That Purdue is still the best team in the Big Ten. No matter how many games they lose, they're still the best team in the Big Ten, and they're like 7th in the Big Ten right now. Yes. In the standings. So
4th in the country, 7th in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Big Ten stat of the week. So top of the ACC, you got Miami, you got Florida State, you got Duke in third, and fourth, my beloved.
Can I guess? Is it Carolina?
It's North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah. Not as far back as
not
you
as
think.
Hang that banner in the D-Dome. Not as far back as you may think. Now, that's a banner I want to see the D-Dome.
Number 5. Number 5, you got Mike Bray and Notre Dame. Number 6, you got Wake Forest. They've won 2 in a row.
Oh my God.
And then we get to Louisville.
Yeah.
Now, Louisville just got above 500 in the ACC. They made sure that they got above that threshold. But before they were able to do that, they were at the KFC Yum Center.
Yep.
And the roof is leaking. The roof is literally caving in. They had to wait an hour and 17 minutes before they tipped off in this game because of the leak. The players, they were asked what they were doing during this hour and 17 minutes. A lot of guys said they were just on TikTok. like a lot of the players in Louisville said they were on TikTok. Chris Mack said it was a necessary win. They were quote unquote lost.
Yeah. Chris Mack, I have seen this, that Chris Mack versus the media is becoming a thing where he is just becoming unhinged, falling apart at the seams every time he does a press conference, especially after Louisville loses. So that's been on my radar, that Louisville is not good. I've tried, like, out of respect to Rutherford, because it does feel like every time something bad happens, we have him on or we talk about it, or we mention whatever. So out of respect to him, I've tried to be better at that since he's called us out on that, like I've noticed that things are falling apart for Louisville, and I've tried to just ignore it, but it's kind of getting hard to ignore with Chris Mack, like, slowly unraveling before our very eyes, and especially like Xavier is thriving without him.
Chris Mack is unraveling so much that Wake Forest brought back tie-dye night. You know, Wake the Nation. You remember this era of Wake the Nation and Skip Prosser. They brought that back. You know, Steve Forbes is like, let's bring back the tie-dye, the motorcycle. Let's do the whole thing again. And Chris Mack pointing out that it was actually his idea.
Okay, cool.
This is how
cool, Chris.
This is how deep in the vortex Chris Mack is. He is like seeing Wake Forest do things that he came up with, 15 years ago, and getting upset that he's not getting credit for it. So that's where Louisville is. The sky is leaking. It's not all the way, but the sky is falling for some teams in the ACC. Josh Pastner
is
last place in the ACC.
Oh no,
1-6.
Oh no,
with the face shield.
He should have retired last year.
That's an update.
I do think he should. People thought I was joking when I said that going into this season. I was like, I know that's not a joke. The man should have just walked away.
I figured out the problem. He's not wearing the face shield down.
He's wearing it.
He has it up. He's not committed.
He's pimping the face shield.
He's not committed. He's not 100% committed. So I kind of throw it away. NC State also on the back end. They are 2-6 in the ACC.
That can't be right. Kevin Keats is a winner.
Year 5 for Kevin Keats.
But Kevin Keats is a winner. So
he is a winner.
How does that?
The numbers are not matching up to what we know.
Is there a third column for almost beating Purdue? Does that count as a?
Yeah, that's the neutral site games that they keep up with. Syracuse, by the way, I have to bring this up. Buddy Boeheim.
Yeah.
Last week they had 2 games, 40 minutes, 40 minutes. This man played back-to-back the entire game, and he is averaging an astounding 39 minutes a game. 39 minutes a game. There were only 40 minutes in a game, Jim. He's playing 39 of them. It's unbelievable. I've never seen a coach be so, like, obviously have favoritism to their own kid and get away with it as much as Jim Boeheim and the Syracuse.
We've talked about it before. One of these days we really do have to sit down and talk about put together the power rankings of guys who played for their dad.
Yeah,
like the dynamics of. We should just have maybe have our dads on Father's Day. Have our dads on. And we just talk about like all the best guys. Our dads will probably talk about Pete Maravich obviously a lot. And, yeah, that'll be a fun show.
Doug McDermott should be
Doug McDermott's up there. Yeah, we have Doug on.
Doug's our correspondent.
Saul Smith gets a shout out.
Yeah, there you go. Clemson's also, the sky is completely falling. They've lost 3 in a row. So I know we have some Clemson fans.
Somehow it sounds like in the ACC. I don't know how it's happened because we're in conference play, so somebody has to win these games. But somehow everybody's losing every game. Every ACC game,
other than the Florida team,
other than Florida State, Miami,
Florida, they have figured it out.
Virginia plays Clemson, and both teams lose. I don't know how it's happening. Notre Dame plays.
By the way, Virginia 5-3, 5-3 in the ACC, not done yet.
Oh,
not done yet. Virginia's trying to stay in the mix. They're there with Wake Forest and Louisville. So,
is Memphis in the ACC? Is that happening?
Can we talk about that quickly? That's your ACC update, by the way. That's the full rundown. Can we talk about?
I love the idea of Memphis being in the ACC, like we treat Gonzaga's in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
like Memphis is an honorary ACC because
they should be.
It fits the mold
with their chaos. Right? Yeah. Yes, with the talent and the chaos, it all checks out. I mean, Penny Hardaway. What do we even say at this point? Because we're Team Penny. We love Penny, but he finally snapped, and he wasn't necessarily wrong. We have SMU friends of the program. I talked to him last night. They're like, Penny wasn't wrong. I mean, they didn't have guys playing.
Yeah,
we knew that. So SMU was like, they had
It's
some
not-
sympathy for Penny. It wasn't the right time for the question, but it might also not have been the right response.
It's the Big Lebowski. You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole. That's Penny Hardaway. Is like you're not wrong. It's just like when you get into these post game press conferences
Yeah.
and you have literally your logo on your Memphis branded apparel, and then there's the 1
Penny
cent logo
Yeah.
on there, and then all you talk about is me and I and don't disrespect me, bro, and I don't question me or whatever it is he said. It's like. Talk about the team as a whole. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, at least I'll give Chris Mack credit for that. Like he's throwing his guys under the bus a little bit, but at least he's talking about like he'll at least say we at certain points as he's like fighting the media and stuff. Penny is just straight up like it's him versus the world. And I guess that's always been the issue you would have with Penny Hardaway is that I every time he has these moments, I do think back on the clip that Jim sent us over the offseason where Jalen Duren and Amani Bates are sitting next to him.
And they're basically his bodyguards while he talks about how he's disrespected as a player.
The interviewer asked Penny what people don't understand. And he's like, what people don't understand is when I came into the league, and you're like, what the hell is happening right now? That's Penny Hardaway. That's been the Penny Hardaway.
It's basically Penny Hardaway pitching to be in the NBA 75.
Like, Penny, are you trying to win a national championship as a coach, or are you trying to get a 10-day contract for COVID reasons? Because like you're trying to get in on the COVID action where everyone's making the league right now. Like, what the hell is happening?
He gets a pass because the team didn't play last night. It wasn't the full team, but also you're 9-8, you're 3-4. I mean,
yeah, it's
like it's off the rails. You know what I mean? It's over.
And you formed a coup to get Toby Smith out of there.
Yeah.
Which is the funny. Like that's when it all started for me. Of like I'm gonna give Penny a chance to win me over, but like this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. The way this man got the job in the first place, which is basically like I'm friends with James Wiseman. Hire me.
And if you want James Wiseman, you have to hire.
And that was it. And every Memphis booster across the board, Chris Vernon and the rest of them, were all like, "Yes, do it. Get Tubby the hell out of here. Tubby is terrible." And you know, like maybe
they weren't wrong.
Maybe they weren't wrong. Like, you know, maybe it's more fun to lose with the guy who's your guy than it is to win with, or to, I guess in their case, lose with a guy who doesn't want to be there. But it was just all hilarious to me. I was like, it was a coup. This guy just straight up said, "Fire him, and I'll bring James Wiseman." And no one stopped and thought, like, that's a pretty bad precedent. Like, I don't know how this would look, or like, is this what we stand for as a universe? Everyone just said, yes, do it. Bring Penny back.
And Memphis won the offseason. They broke basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they had the top 2 recruits. They had 2 number 1 recruits come.
Yeah.
That were supposed to be stars. They got Larry Brown, who's the only coach who's ever won an NBA and a college championship on your bench. You got Rasheed now Rasheed's not there anymore. He's like in a consulting role. But like at the start of the year.
A consulting role.
Whatever that means. But you started the year like the Death Star. Like that you were going to have to watch out for Memphis. And then when people were like, things aren't going that great, you're like, don't disrespect me, bro.
Don't disrespect. Yeah. Penny literally said they were going to win a national championship.
Yeah, that's why it's a messaging problem.
At one point, yeah. Oof.
And I love Memphis, by the way. Like we want Memphis to be good, and I think that's why when he says this media, I don't think he's talking about us. I think he's talking about Chris Vernon and all the Memphis media. You know what I mean? That are asking.
You got to throw Parrish in there because Parrish.
Is Parrish asking the dumb question?
And I love Parrish. Tate Frazier voice. But Parrish.
But we don't want to be this media.
But I'll say this as a guy who was very much pro IU during the IU the Brad Stevens IU. I was obviously fanning the flames for Brad Stevens IU and defending the Woodson hire and all that. And also as a guy who loves making Penny Hardaway jokes. Parrish went out on a limb to say that he wrote a column that was like, did Indiana just spend $10 million to get worse by firing Archie? They paid the buyout for Archie Miller and then hired Mike Woodson. He's like, I think Indiana just paid $10 million to get worse. And then he also, when Memphis won the offseason, I think he wrote a column that was like, everyone had jokes about Penny this entire
Who's
year.
laughing
Who's
now?
laughing now?
Us.
And as a guy who was on the other side of both of those, I'm laughing now.
Yeah, we were.
But I like Paris. I'm not gonna.
Like Paris.
I'm not trying to become
like
the
we
old
like
Shakes guy,
Memphis.
but
The whole point is we want it to be successful, but it's obviously not. And
yeah,
when it isn't,
which like I think the lesson here. I'm not trying to dunk on Paris. I think what I'm trying to say is like when coaching hires are made, I think it would do us all a great service if we all just shut the hell up and just like let them
Yeah.
Like I think like
Nobody
giving a
knows.
grade. Same with like drafts. Like, what is your draft grade for the Pistons, Tate, after the 2022 draft? What on draft night? What is your grade? I see it as
B
a C
minus.
plus.
It's a
I
B
think
minus
they
for
got
me.
they didn't quite get the shooting guard they needed, but they did get some
It's like,
assets.
it's like, is this a report card? What the hell is happening?
Nobody knows.
Yeah,
I don't
nobody
know.
knows.
So, anyway, good ACC update. I felt like I learned a lot. Florida State plays Miami this week, right? I think I saw that. That'll be so. I guess that's the game to watch. Or Syracuse Duke. Which one's the game to watch?
Syracuse Duke is the game to watch because I do think, I think the Duke's not done yet. You know what I mean? Like there's more. Like Duke is going to get it together, but they're not done spiraling a little bit. You know, like I can see them losing to Syracuse.
Do you think that we need like a Boeheim update as well, almost, where it's like as you watch the Coach K farewell tour unravel, and we need like a Boeheim. We should have that instead of the New Bloods, Blue Bloods. We should have the Boeheim wins counter, catching Coach K.
Yeah,
and the I need eyes or ears or whatever. I need like reports on, is Jim Boeheim in fact going to keep coaching until he either dies or beats Coach K's record? Because like that's where I'm at right now, but I don't know because you're telling me Buddy Boeheim's playing 40 minutes a game. So now I'm like, is it just a situation where he's going to retire when Buddy leaves?
I think it might be.
I don't know. I
will say this:
that I need to.
I've never seen Jim Boeheim happier.
Okay.
To lose.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like he's
just like
he's content to lose as long as Buddy plays and gets 20 shots.
I think we'll know more after the Duke game, because I think like having him in the aura of Coach K during the farewell tour and him looking up at the banner that Coach K has the most wins and all that kind of stuff, I think we'll get a sense of.
I think there's also a chance he takes a dive for Coach K. You know what I mean? Like they're like
maybe literally, like maybe he just falls on the ground. He collapses. He does the Coach K.
Yeah, for Coach K, and then he doesn't coach the game, and then Syracuse loses, and everyone's like, Syracuse gets a pass. Good win for Duke.
But the loss also doesn't go on Boeheim's record.
It goes on Buddy Boeheim's record.
We should also get a clock that's counting Buddy Boeheim's like total minutes played, and it's like the national deficit, that thing in like Times Square with all the numbers just running at all times.
Yeah, I mean Tom Thibodeau was like, he's playing too much. You know what I mean? Like that's how much he plays. It's ridiculous.
There used to be the Bill Gates. I remember in the 90s, the screensaver we had at our house. It was like, Bill Gates has made this much money.
Oh yeah, it's like counting up.
Back when capitalism was cool in the 90s, and you like celebrated.
Well,
like,
it was kind of
sick
like one guy. It was kind of like It was like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, like the only ones you knew. Now it's just too many. I think that's why people were upset. They're like, wait a second, I didn't know there was this many.
If they dropped $100 bill, it wouldn't be worth their time to pick it up.
Yes.
The most annoying fact of all time.
Before we do shout outs, Jim, do you have a Donda update?
Yeah.
Should we go to gym class?
Gym class.
See what's going on.
Oh,
yes.
Ring the bell.
Gym class.
All right. So Donda played at the MLA Classic earlier this month.
MLA is how
Stop saying
MLK.
class.
Oh, MLK.
They're all classics. The first ever classic.
The first year of them, yeah.
And not the MLA handbook, sorry. MLK Classic. And lost their first game to Minnesota Prep.
Oh,
92-86. But Rob Dillingham,
my boy,
is the number one point guard in the
going to
class
NC
of
State.
2023. Yeah.
Kevin Keats, a winner.
But more importantly, the dean of the Donda Academy released a song last week about his ex-wife's new boyfriend. The dean's name is Kanye West.
Interesting.
And his song is called My Life Was Never Easy.
Yes, with the game.
Easy, yes, and easy with a Z.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's a lyric that says, God save me from the crash,
Yes.
just so I can beat Pete Davidson's ass.
Bars.
Mm-hmm. And the crash is probably about that car accident he got in.
Yeah, he got in a car accident. Yes, that was 2002. So it is 20 years later.
20 years later.
So that's why he survived that. 20 years later to beat Pete Davidson's ass.
He's had survivorship guilt for 20 years. He's like, why
am I here?
God? Why me? And then now he's like, I get it now.
I get it.
It's to beat Pete Davidson's ass. That's why I'm here. That's why God spared me.
Well,
Like, when I get my jaw unwired, I am just going to say the craziest crap and not think anything of it.
Who do you take in that fight, Jim?
Well, yeah. So we have a tale of the tape here. By the way, Pete Davidson's reaction to that lyric, hilarious.
He said it was hilarious.
Sources say that he finds it hilarious.
It is hilarious. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of, and it's.
So in a fight, in the tale of the tape, Kanye West, 44 years old, Pete Davidson, 28.
Oh,
Kanye's gonna
he's
be
my age.
Kanye's going to be 45 in June.
When's Pete?
29 in November.
Can I guess their height?
Mhm.
I would say Pete. He looks tall, but he's also just like skinny and
5'11".
wiry. So I'm gonna give him 6'2".
Ooh.
Pete Davidson's height?
Yeah.
You want to guess?
I'll go 6 even.
Pete Davidson is listed on the internet at 6'1.5"
Okay. All
to
right.
6'3".
Oh, okay.
What?
Depends on
What?
the
It's
day.
like an NBA player, you know?
Depends on how much-
he's 6'3".
Depends on how much he's slouching. If he's depressed.
Exactly.
Or not. If he had his meds.
His haircut.
Is his chest
Works out.
out?
Kanye's height?
Kanye is
5'9".
5'9". Yeah, he's 5'9".
5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, that's 5'9". Yeah. I think Pete's
6
got
foot
him.
on Tinder.
I think Pete's got him. I think you're right. Pete in his prime and he's got the reach.
Pete's got the
Well,
reach.
here's the weight. Kanye. Well, Pete Davidson's weight. You want to guess?
160.
I'll give him a little more. 170. I'll say 170.
So he's 6'1.5" to 6'3", and he's listed 140 to 165.
What?
Now Kanye 5'8".
140?
Kanye 5'8", and that source of 140 was Pete Davidson. Said I'm 6'3", 140, which is probably a joke, but whatever.
gotta
It's
be-
on the internet, so
It's
it's
got to be
real.
a joke.
Now Kanye 5'8". What weights do you think we found on the internet for him?
205.
250.
He's listed anywhere from 175 to, in May 2021, 310 pounds.
That's with all of his. That's like with all like.
Is this Kanye or James Harden?
No,
That was Kanye. Remember last year?
He ballooned up?
Yeah, maybe.
I must have missed
Yeah,
it.
James Harden. I don't know.
Oh,
All
my
right,
God.
wingspan.
They have one of those.
Kanye's 68 to 72 inches estimated.
Yeah.
This is all from Tyler. Found these two. Shout out Tyler Wojak,
Thanks, Tyler.
crack staff there. And then Pete Davidson, 72 to 76 inches
Okay. So
estimated.
So it's not as much of a disparity.
I think the good thing about this is like we can flesh out the hypothetical as much as we want, but it's going to become a reality given the state of boxing right now. That like, I think if they just talk enough
Thriller,
shit,
what's that company? Thriller or
Yeah.
And
Triller?
Pete Davidson did the announcing and said, "Look how low our society has sunk. That we're like doing selective boxing."
yeah.
When he was
he's
like,
going
the
to be
backstage guy.
if
He was the guy saying
either they're going to be the undercard of a Jake Paul fight,
Yeah.
or Barstool's gonna have him fight for the
Rough and Rowdy,
or whatever.
yeah.
Like that's where boxing's at. So like we're gonna see this become a reality either way.
So if they both had the same reach, 72 inches, Kanye at his max estimate and Pete Davidson is at his shortest, who do you like more? Kanye is known for punching a couple people.
Kanye bites
Kanye's
him.
been-
Kanye will bite him. It will be that's what I think is the difference.
Kanye's a little
Kanye will
Yeah.
do
He's
something that's
older.
like it breaks the fight. Like, you know, it's like you're not supposed to do that, you know? It's like
Yeah.
Tyson biting Holyfield. You're like, you're
Yeah.
not supposed to do that. You know? And that's what Kanye will do. He'll do something like that, and you're like, I guess he won, but also he broke all the
Yeah,
rules.
right.
You know?
Well, but what about
Right.
this? Kanye's tattoos. He's got a
Oh
dragon,
my god. All right.
4M design, a woman holding a baby, and a list of his favorite songs. While Pete Davidson has a Winnie the Pooh,
Oh my God.
Hillary Clinton,
He is Hillary Clinton?
the alien from the movie Mars Attacks,
Oh, I do love Mars Attacks.
A
Those are my
giant
favorite
shark.
movies.
and Willy Wonka. Now who
Jeez.
will win?
I think Kanye. I
How
think
does-
based on that list.
bring this back full circle. How does this affect Donda Academy's basketball team? Do you think?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're the dean of your school
Yeah, if he loses
is
to
publicly in a fight with the
Ooh,
guy. with
maybe
the
they have a
Mars attacks.
one-on-one basketball game a la Ted Cruz, Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
could be a fun
Would you
show.
call that a basketball game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would call that. I would call that.
What was
like,
that?
That was
like
banned.
ballroom dancing.
That was-
I don't do.
That should have been banned from TV.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should have.
that was-
FCC should have just
That
blocked
was-
it out.
that was real basketball.
Oh my god. That's a good update, Jim. Good job.
That was good.
That's not that good of a line of a song, by the way. Car crash and
It's not a good
that.
line.
That's like not. It's like cool, man. That's
but it's
not
really
even clever. It's not even. It doesn't even rhyme technically.
it's really good for
So,
the game. You know, I feel like the game
Yeah.
he had fallen out of favor a little bit, but then to get Kanye, you know, that was pretty good for him.
Yeah.
so.
I mean, when I was into rap was the Tupac Biggie era, and like the you know, like you contrast hit 'em up versus like I'm gonna beat your ass, man. Like it's just kind of it's like what are we doing?
Well,
Like,
now
if you're gonna go at him, go at him.
No, beef
say I'm gonna-
and rap now is like it's to promote something. It's commercial.
But what rhymes with Hillary Clinton portrait tattoo? You know, what is he supposed to say?
He's gonna get fired from SNL probably. That's probably the next step.
No, I think Lauren loves him. He's like,
I know Lauren loves him, but like, doesn't he have to like? Did he like miss work this week? There was like all these reports that Pete Davidson missed rehearsals, but then he got to be on the show. He's like the first person to ever miss rehearsals and be on the show. It's not gonna fly. They're gonna fire him.
A movie idea is Pete Davidson should make a movie about basically Donda Academy, but it's like his own Donda Academy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A comedy about a guy who's a comedian.
Staten Island Basketball Academy.
That he starts a basketball academy.
Yeah.
And that would be a good.
He's a rapper. He's like Eminem character, and he started academy.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's wrap it up. Shout out to closeouts.
Honestly, I don't really have much to shout out. Shout out to Being Friday. Shout out to Donda, and
all right,
I really don't have much else.
All right, I got a handful. Ric Flair is going to be at the Texas Tech game February 1st in Lubbock. This is the game that Chris Beard's coming back to.
Love that.
How do you feel about this, Jim? Does Ric Flair still play in 2022?
Yeah.
Do you think Ric Flair grabbing
the greatest like pregame speech guy?
Yeah, dude, he's
around.
Michael Buffer doesn't do it for you.
No, Ric Flair is.
But Ric Flair's done it for the Panthers. Who else he do it for? The
Ric Flair,
49ers?
he's loved by.
Is he really?
Everybody.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, no,
he's done
in
that
the
before.
locker room. Like he's basically he'll do a cameo live in your locker room. He'll just like show up,
do the
and go
woo
for anybody.
Just do the woos for you.
Yeah.
All right, but does that make this better or worse that he's doing this then?
I think it makes it even more of a moment.
Okay,
that he's there.
All right,
it's kind of like the Rumble. It's like, are you ready to rumble?
I'm slightly worried that Texas Tech is going to be. It's gonna. They're gonna focus too much on the theater of like letting Chris Beard know that they hate him.
Yeah.
Not enough on
the game.
Yeah. But also Texas Tech is so much better than Texas that I don't think it'll matter ultimately. But anyway, there's that. Also, Kevin Ollie was an arbitration. I'm sorry, with UConn.
That's right.
He won. He won his arbitration. He won
$11 million.
$11.6 or something, and they have to pay him within a week.
Yeah.
Wild.
And they're already
TikTok.
trying. They're already trying to kick the can down the road. And Kevin Ollie's like,
no,
F you pay me.
Yeah.
Not a dime back.
So. There you go. Good job.
Good job, Jim.
Good reference, Jim. What else did I say? Let's speak some names. I want to speak some names real quick. Marquette has won 5 straight. They lost 4 straight. They've now won 5 straight. Just won at Villanova. Shaka Smart has for right now won the breakup with Texas. Marquette is rolling, and so we speak your name, Marquette. And
Love
also
Marquette.
I am off on I'm off the Villanova experience. I've been talking about it. I've told you I don't like this team as much anymore. I want to officially declare that if I come back around, if March comes around, I just want to be held accountable, Tate. If March comes around and I am trying to like weasel my way back into Villanova, don't let me do it.
Okay.
I am definitively done with Villanova this year. I think they're okay. I think they're fine.
But you're like, I don't believe.
They might make a Sweet 16, whatever. But if I start saying things like leading into March where I'm like, ooh, I love this Villanova team, call me out. Call me a fraud, please. For the love of God.
I got you.
Providence, we speak your name, alone in first place in the Big East after beating Georgetown on Thursday. Also, I think they are literally number 1 luckiest team according to KenPom. I'd love that KenPom does that. He has like a luck rating.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think Providence is number 1, which
also they lost to Virginia.
But they beat Purdue in a secret scrimmage.
Yeah, so we don't know. We say we don't.
Davidson, we speak your name. You've won 14 straight. Sam Meninga, remember him from the Maui Invitational?
Sam Meninga.
He's averaging 23 points and 12 rebounds a game this year.
He's so good.
He's not. I just made that up.
So good.
He's averaging like 7 and 5, but I want it to. It feels like.
I mean, we saw him become a star. He was our next Obi Toppin. We were like, dude, Sam Meninga, watch out. 7 and 5? Are you kidding me? I haven't believed you. Yeah.
I thought I could get you on that. 23 and 12.
I saw the talent.
And then I wanted to shout out Kentucky and Wisconsin because Kentucky at A&M and Wisconsin at Northwestern. We kind of Wisconsin and Northwestern we definitely glossed over on the show, but Kentucky at A&M played I think that the next day or something. But those stood out to me as 2 games that like Wisconsin Kentucky didn't really play particularly awesome. It was a grinded out game, and I just wanted to say we speak your name because those were some championship DNA games. So we see you. We speak your name. Congratulations on the road wins. Wisconsin has Michigan State tonight, by the way.
That'll be a good game.
That'll be a fun one. There's that. What else? Neil Armstrong went to Purdue. It says here in my notes. So shout out to Neil Armstrong. Even though Purdue lost to Indiana,
Shout out.
you still have a leg up on number of alums that have been to the moon. So
What do you think would be the worst? What could be the worst day ever? Like, what if it came out that Stanley Kubrick actually shot the moon landing and Neil Armstrong was never? On
That is the worst.
That would break.
That's the worst
Purdue.
for Purdue. Yeah. That is the worst thing that could possibly happen to Purdue. I think. Yeah.
Kubrick.
No question. Oh, the other thing I wanted to shout out Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, who is definitely not mad, definitely not thinking about IU. IU is definitely not a rival.
He didn't even put Carolina on his rival list. I'm like, wait a second.
Cracked me up. Matt Jones is another one who was very much what a disaster. IU hired Mike Woodson as Kentucky was like 9-26 with a lifetime contract to John Calipari, and he was like, "What is IU doing?" All that. Matt Jones cares so little about IU that he talks about IU all the time. And he tweeted this, and I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, that he says that I'm going to read I was about to paraphrase. I should just read it straight up. Not even talking trash. As of now, the UK basketball rivals to me are number 1, Louisville, number 2, Tennessee, number 3, Florida, number 4, Duke, number 5, Kansas, then maybe Auburn, and only then would I even fathom to remember that there's an Indiana. So Matt Jones, shout out to him for as Indiana is celebrating a huge win and obviously proving that Mike Woodson was the right hire.
Yeah,
he wanted to step in and be like, now hang on a second. I'm not even thinking about
these guys.
I'm not even thinking about you at all.
Also, like the two teams that you're trying to shade in that tweet are Indiana, obviously, and then like North Carolina by putting Duke and Kansas above them.
Yeah.
So it's like those are probably the two teams that you would consider maybe on your rivalry list. Also, that's the worst rivalry list ever.
This is what I learned from this list is that Kentucky has no rivals because Kentucky Louisville is literally not even a top 10 college basketball rivalry.
No,
we've gone over this many times.
Yeah, and we can't do it anymore.
Horrible rivalry. And if that is your
the programs individually are both great programs, obviously.
And I mean, if Auburn is literally is actually above Indiana, and this isn't you're not trolling, you're not shit. Like, I mean, my God,
that's embarrassing.
You need to do a hard reset on the rivalries and what matters in your program and all that kind of stuff. If you're Auburn, Auburn, I don't know. I was thinking who else belongs on the list. Wisconsin probably for 2015. They're probably bigger than Indiana to Kentucky.
Luke May hit the shot.
Yeah, Carolina.
I mean, what are you talking about?
UCLA has more titles. They're the only program with more titles. So they're probably a bigger rival than Indiana. Memphis, because Cal coached there. They're probably a bigger rival than Indiana.
Wichita State.
Western Kentucky. They played Western Kentucky this year. They didn't play Indiana this year.
They're friends, though. And I think, remember, because Stansbury said he got the rebounds.
What about Ohio State? They play sometimes in the Champions Classic or the CBS Classic. So I don't know. Yeah, Indiana might not even be in the top 20. They definitely don't think about Indiana at all.
I need to do that for Carolina and just put like Duke not on my list.
Can you imagine,
top
dude,
5 rivals?
You lose at Indiana and you're scared to go back and play. That was the original ducking. That's the original dodging. Is John Calipari doesn't want to play at Indiana because
it's been 10 years.
His feelings storming the court.
It's time.
It's insane.
It's 10 years.
I don't understand how any Kentucky fan sees it any other way than John Calipari is like, my feelings are hurt. I don't want to go back there.
Well, and
that's all it is.
Well, the funny part is that right now the rivalry's actually never been hotter because the Kentucky Knicks, as they like to call them, also they're the Mike Woodson Knicks.
Yes.
So like both of these college programs are trying to claim the Knicks, and the Knicks are going to have to choose one or the other, and they're probably going to choose Mike Woodson.
So the Kentucky fans are like, we would just beat their IU's not worth our time. We would just beat their ass every time we play. And I'm like, how is that any different than the Louisville rivalry? I don't understand. Like, so why not? If that is in fact the case, then play IU, beat their ass every single time you play them, and then that'll shut up all the IU fans, and then there really won't be a rivalry because you'll beat your ass all the time. And instead, the last 2 games that anyone remembers, because nobody remembers that in 2012, Kentucky beat Indiana in the tournament. They remember that Indiana won on the Watford shot. Yeah. And then the last time they played was 2016 in the tournament, and Indiana beat Kentucky. And then now Calipari doesn't want to play them. I don't know. Anyway, not a rivalry.
Not a rivalry.
Hashtag not a rivalry.
Yeah, not a rivalry.
Games to watch: Kentucky at Auburn this weekend. Biggest game in maybe Auburn history.
Yeah.
This is a rivalry. Kentucky at Auburn.
Did you see Sheboy said that he was like, we're treating it like we're going to war and we have to die out there, we will. That's what he said. I was like, someone tell this kid like it's not that serious.
What is happening
like,
in Lexington? What is happening? Oh my God.
Camelot.
No, it is the biggest regular season game probably in Auburn basketball.
I agree.
I would say that. Yeah, for sure. So that'll be awesome. LSU's at Tennessee, Syracuse at Duke, Florida State at Miami, and then the other one I wrote down was Kansas at Kansas State, which probably doesn't jump off the screen, but Kansas State's playing better as of
Better,
late.
yeah.
And that is an actual rivalry game. So there you go.
Also, the Auburn trick is to say this is the best Auburn team this century because the last time that they were good was 1999.
There you go.
Everything's
Smart.
this century.
All right.
I have one shout out. It's important.
Please.
The state of Ohio has officially won the space race of Earth. I guess you would call it.
First in
whatever.
flight race.
First in flight. The flight fight,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. North Carolina has given up.
No.
I saw it this morning. It's official. I saw it with my own two crusty eyes. North Carolina got rid of the first in flight.
No, we
license plate.
didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, we
It's
didn't.
done.
That was just
It,
one
it
license
was literally
plate.
one license
Yes, you
plate,
did.
and you have a choice if you can put in God We
Nope.
Trust or First in Flight, and someone put in God We Trust, and Jim
Why do
said
you
it
get
does.
Why do you get a choice? No.
Because the USA is in God We Trust, and you can put that on any license
Yeah.
plate, or you can do the state.
But I like where your head's at. I'm with you, Jim.
It's
No,
official.
no.
That's official.
This
official.
is literally the definition of fake news. This is how
Congrats,
things get
Ohio.
started.
Congrats, Ohio.
All right, Jim and Tate are gonna go fight. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. We're live on YouTube on Tuesday.
Yeah, live
Tuesday
on
night.
YouTube.
Watch us on YouTube if you want, or listen Wednesday morning, whatever. We'll be back then. See you guys.
Dang.